room, so they kind of put themselves at a slighter disadvantage while on their attacking side, because even if it isn't their main strategy for attacking that downstairs site, it's an option that they would have had that they no longer have. But who
And
knows? Maybe they're just prepped for it.
yeah, we have seen a drop in Ying's pick rate once she lost the smoke grenades, so she couldn't do the smoke Ying Candela plant by herself, which she could do before. But even still, the Candelas are very strong, and we do see that they are taking a smoke operator in Capitao. And of course, those smoke arrows do not get shot down by ADSs. So you have a pretty reliable smoke. You could still keep the Ying on the board and do that full plant strategy, but it, like you said, it doesn't look like they're going for it, and instead we see a pretty standard operator lineup. Sometimes we don't see a sledge. Sometimes we see any other operator join them. It's usually not a thermite or anything. You don't really need double hard breach for this site unless you're going for a red take, which is again very rare. So Disrupt also picking up Mira, which obviously to be expected if you go downstairs into laundry room and it's not banned.
Yeah, so far, like you said, very standard. A lot of the same operators that you'll always see. IQ being picked. IQ potentially losing her frag grenades in an upcoming update. I didn't actually notice if they released the final mid-season reinforcements patch notes.
I haven't seen them if they have.
But I don't think it's necessary to take away her grenades. But who knows? You know, Bolo on this pulse can be terrifying.
Going back to the frag grenades real quick, I think part of it is like Ubisoft are preparing to introduce more electronics on defense. And, you know, every time one of those operators comes out, IQ just gets stronger and stronger because there are more things that she can counter. So I think Ubisoft might be taking the frag grenades in preparation to just add more of those operators.
I could see that being a potential. But Bolo downstairs already noticing people up inside of that attic, so he's giving that intel to his team, and I'm assuming they're going to react accordingly. I can't tell if they're all anchoring right now. Looks like they could all be downstairs, and not a lot of, progress. Okay, never mind. A lot of progress being made by Carnage and Chaos because they have meeting open, or they have meeting control already, and they're opening up those hatches in there. And Chef is already on this stairwell, firing some shots, bringing Dot Dash very low on his health. A minute 30 left, and Dot Dash is going to go for that reset. Thankfully, they didn't send that smoke canister off. I've seen it happen before in CCS matches, and it sucks, but it's funny for us.
Yeah, it would make for pretty entertaining.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, every time. It's always funny for us, but I do feel bad for the teams when it happens.
But yeah, you mentioned that Disrupt are playing all on site. I think Clueless was just playing with himself right there. Just making a little bit of a joke out of it, but Carnage takes out Bolo, who was going upstairs to try to flank around and try to be a roamer. But as you said, all of them were playing anchors on site at the very beginning. Ooh, the grenades have not been working out pretty well. That one bounced off of a wooden plank and was sent right back at him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough spot. Sweater's going to find Carnage B, and then Dot Dash takes out Clueless. Sweater now finding Art as well. It's a 2 versus 4, and Carnage and Chaos is falling apart. Sweater is just picking them off left and right. Hopes is down at Harry Potter. He's going to fire some shots, but he's going to get taken out by EXO on the smoke.
And T-Hunt Bomber is actually EXO, and we got a confirmation of that. But overall, this round was... I wish I could have seen more angles of the execution at once, but obviously we can only see one at a time. But Carnage and Chaos, they just sort of dropped that map completely. Like, they had all of the control. There was no one on the second floor for Disrupt. They didn't really have to worry about any roamers since Bolo was taken out at the very beginning of their execution, but they still just lost every single gunfight. And I don't think they made good enough use of the Capitao smoke arrows, because I saw one smoke arrow covering the hallway into stairs in front of the Mira placement that we saw. But other than that, it just... the rest of their offense wasn't there. IQ only had one frag grenade left. That might have been a part of the issue. Yeah, I just would have wanted to see that from more different angles to see what exactly went wrong, but right now I can just assume that they lost every single gunfight they got into.
They made a mistake by taking way too long to get into position and start the execute. It looked like they might have been in a solid position to go for an execute. If they had gotten into that position about a minute earlier and then started the execute, you know, with a minute 30 left on the clock, you've got time. You can drone it out a little bit, figure out exactly how you want to execute onto that site. But there was, what, like 30 seconds left in the round when all of that action happened. So on Carnage and Chaos's side, all they're thinking is, crap, we have to get on site now. We have to go for the plant. We're not going to be able to get all the kills. We don't even know where they are. You know, it's tough to make everything happen in that short amount of time unless you have absolutely all of the intel. If you know exactly where every single enemy is, then you've got a solid chance of being able to pull something like that off. But they just kind of sat on it for too long and didn't really make any progress. And then they have to go in there within the last 30 seconds. Disrupt is just sitting on site like, huh, we just have to hold angles. This is easy.
That's true, and there were 30 seconds left, like you said, and I think only Carnage B, sorry, I keep calling him Carnage, was the only one who was on the main entrance side of the map. Everyone else was on tower, so they couldn't even rotate around toward where the smoke plant would normally go, and they ran out of time for that too. So they had to utilize their smokes from Capitao on the stairs side, which aren't as strong because that's just a kill hallway no matter how you slice it. But even if it's smoked out, teams can easily just spray down and get a kill through it through sheer luck at that point. So just a lot of things, like you said, Carnage and Chaos taking a little bit too much time, but now we see a defense hold on the kids' dorm site, which is one where you generally don't take a Mira in favor of the Maestro now. Dot Dash actually just getting the first pick onto clueless marks, and that's going to be the IQ down. They don't have too much that the IQ would really counter in this situation. Maybe just finding out where the pulse is. 1v1, Chef is trying to shoot up through this window, but it's not going to work as the as Dot Dash manages to get up the stairs and get reset.
Disrupt is really worrying me with these smoke resets. They've done it twice. Both times it's been on Dot Dash, and I'm just waiting for EXO to be EXO and just kill him. Sweater is going to find another one. Hopes it will fall. Or actually, was it Dot Dash that I think got the first one? I actually can't remember. Short-term memory loss. Oh, well.
Yeah, Dot Dash got the first one.
Gotcha, okay. So flashbang's coming into sight. One bad flashbang is going to kind of mess up that execute quite a bit. They've still got, I think there was still a defender downstairs, and then you've got Sweater at the top of the white stairs here, just watching for them to try to come in through that hole. Bolo is going to find Art. Chef will now find Bolo. It's a 2 versus 4 as Carnage and Chef are making their way towards site. Carnage is going to find EXO. It's going to be Dot Dash, Sweater, and Trippin still on site, but Trippin will fall to Chef, or no, Trippin will find Chef, I should say, and then inside of the closet you've got Carnage trying to go for a fight, getting some shots back and forth between everyone right now. Dot Dash is going to find the kill on a Carnage, and that's going to be Disrupt taking their second round in the row.
Yeah, that was going to be a really hard execute to pull off, and one thing that we've been seeing from Bolo that's actually been, it didn't really work the first round, but it's been working the second round, is that he's playing Pulse, but he didn't start off as a roamer. He's playing on site, and then when there's, say, about a minute and 30 seconds left, then he's going around trying to find people with the heartbeat sensor and sort of playing the roam game. So he's managed to get a pick off this time with it, using his C4, and I think that made a little bit of a difference in their defense, but we also need to talk about the fact that Carnage and Chaos, again, just didn't really have much of a plan with their execution. I didn't see any sort of... so, like, Art, when he used the Capitao smoke arrows, there wasn't really any follow-up to it. No one was using those smoke arrows to push up and find a different angle. No one was using them to cover a plant. I think the team was barely even pushing in with the smoke arrows as well. So that's something that I would want to see them correct for future rounds in terms of their offense. And speaking of, they are going with the glass this time. So they are going to make a little bit better use of the smoke grenades from him. But he is the only one who actually has smoke grenades on his team, so this tells me that they're probably going to try to go for a very standard laundry room plant using this room to the right that we see the main entrance.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this time they do dedicate to a front push. Sweater kind of getting a little aggressive in garage. Maybe he won't be here when the round starts, but it's 10 seconds left. He doesn't seem to want to move. So this is one of those things that we tend to see from Sweater, we tend to see from Disrupt. They'll go for some really outlandish plays right off the bat for absolutely no reason, and sometimes they get away with it, and it makes a huge difference in the way that the round plays out. And with how slow Carnage and Chaos has really been getting into position, I think losing one of their players early on to a spawn peak would basically guarantee the round for Disrupt, because it would slow them down further than they've already slowed themselves down.
It would slow them down further, and it would give them less options to work with once they do decide to execute. So overall, just a couple of things that would put more holes in Carnage and Chaos's plan, but it looks like Sweater will rotate completely back downstairs and even barricade himself off from the back end. So far he's just basically messing with Carnage and Chaos by pushing out those the bottom of the garage doors. And that, as we see, Carnage and Chaos really have to hold that angle and drone in there to check to make sure no one is actually playing that location. But everyone is on site once again, and hey, it did work the first map. And we're gonna see Bolo. I think he'll probably try to pop up for something else in these main stairs, like he did the first and the second round, basically being a late roamer.
Yeah, he's still just kind of hanging out inside a laundry room, trying to see if he can catch anything with that heartbeat sensor. But maybe he's not going to go for a late roam. He could be saving that nitro cell, because that gives them a bit more utility for plant denial. They have the smoke. You've got a C4 on Mira, and you've got a C4 on Pulse. So that gives them a lot of potential for plant denial, as long as they don't completely waste those. So I wouldn't be overly surprised if they kind of hang, Bolo on site rather than letting him roam around. But Chef with a frag grenade is going to take out Dot Dash. It's going to be Jaeger off the board. Irony at its finest there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of irony, because obviously he does have the ADSs that would deny those sorts of kills, but I guess he just wasn't standing near one at all. And now Disrupt are fighting a 4-on-5. Carnage and Chaos, one man up. They still have all 5 members of their team left, and there is a minute left to execute, so this could be their round. Clueless gets another kill with a frag grenade, but Sweater takes out Hopes, bringing it down to a 4v3. A little bit of the utility used up, but Chef gets one more, and Trippin going to take out Clueless Marks as well. Chef has been downed as well, so it's going to be about a 2v2 unless someone can get Chef up, but he is playing a very dangerous position right now, and Trippin is going to see if he can get anyone else off the back end, and Art knows exactly where he is. He saw him a little bit before. Going to pick up the kill, and that leaves us with a 3v1 now, as Chef has been picked up. Bolo has been spotted. They know exactly where he's playing in this little room right here. Picks up Carnage B and is going to play inside laundry room instead, but Chef's going to peek around and get the kill. He manages to take it out with the SMG-11.
I mean, I'm glad Carnage and Chaos managed to get around on the board. It was sloppy, but it seems like they're kind of starting to adjust to what Disrupt is doing. Bolo played on site. He had that plant denial with that C4, but they were definitely expecting more of a front push this time, and it didn't happen. I don't know why. Sometimes things that you can't explain work out for all the wrong reasons. So I wouldn't necessarily say that, what happened was perfectly planned out by Carnage and Chaos. They executed it fairly well. They managed to get those kills. The Glaz did some incredible work getting that angle onto the Mira. But I think it was because of how completely off guard Disrupt was caught with that push. That definitely played into how the round went, but it definitely was a lot of gun skill from Carnage and Chaos as well, just winning those gunfights. It was pretty risky, and I almost thought that, Disrupt was going to be able to clutch it out. They had the Mirror and the Pulse, but as soon as Glaz found that angle onto the Mirror that was sitting on site, it was just completely in favor of Carnage and Chaos at that point. There's only so much that, even a player like Bolo, there's only so much that he can do when you're put into a situation like this.
And one other thing that I want to mention too is that Carnage and Chaos, like you said, they didn't seem to have too much of a plan on their offense, and I think that was also also pretty clear, because we didn't really see much of an execution strategy from them. It was like they opened up some hatches and got 2 frag grenade kills. And, once you get 2 frag grenade kills, the rest is kind of history. It's easy to close out a round like that. But it also means that their kills were, I don't want to say not planned out, but they could have easily not been kills. Like, those are kills that weren't guaranteed kills if Disrupt had been playing in even slightly different locations. So, again, like you said, I don't think Carnage and Chaos really had too much of a plan there. And I do want to point out that Disrupt, I think, managed to pull a site fake out, because when you are... They hovered Mira, and they swapped off to Maestro with the 6th pick. So Carnage and Chaos saw that there was a Mira, and they said, alright, our Hibana pick makes sense. They're going back down into Laundry Room, because they didn't win the defense last time, so it's not locked out. However, Disrupt swapped off onto Maestro, and that sort of faked them out. But I do want to criticize a little bit, because showing the castle means that they probably were going to go upstairs anyway, because Mira is still viable in the upstairs kids' dorms site, but castle is necessary, almost necessary for the upstairs site. Meanwhile, you don't really have too many places where you use a castle if you're playing downstairs.
But some teams do like to change things up, and, you know, seeing like Disrupt, I could definitely see them going for some solid change-ups like that. But all the action is going down as we're talking about this. You can see Clueless and Art have both fallen. Ixo is being brought low on health, Bolo very low as well, and Dot Dash has actually fallen for Disrupt. Right now it's a 4v3, but with how much damage there is on the players of Disrupt, you know, you're going to see them actually both being reset there, and Chef as well will get reset, so slightly evens things out. But basically Disrupt still has 3 full players standing, and then you've got, you know, 2.5 from Carnage and Chaos. Sweater is going to find Hopes now, though, and then Chef will take out Bolo, putting it to a 2 versus 3, and now Sweater is going to find Chef as well. Sweater putting in a ton of work this round as Carnage is making his way into the bathroom, looking to find that kill on Sweater. I don't think Sweater is fully aware of his position, and there it is. The headshot from Carnage is going to shut down Sweater, putting it to a 1 versus 2. Carnage at half health, lots of holes in the floor. And it's going to be a tough take for Carnage to manage. Diffuser is down somewhere else, but you're going to see Carnage making his way up the white stairs. It looks like he's committing to go for the kills.
And
rather than going... Oop, go ahead.
Yep. Disrupt don't actually know that he doesn't have the diffuser. They don't have eyes on it, so they don't have the information that they should just play for time. But they are still playing patiently, because no matter whether or not Carnage has the diffuser or not, he still has to push in, and Trip is going to take him out as he is forced to push through the gas canisters. And we're going to see it from Trippin's perspective right here. Gas canister goes off, and that is going to be a pretty quick kill on that side right there. And we saw that Disrupt, this time around, unlike the first time they played Kids Dorms, they focused really heavily on the kitchen this time around, which is something that we see pretty often in terms of Kids Dorms defenses, because especially when you have a pulse, and a pulse like Bolo, if you control kitchen, you control the hallway outside of kitchen, and pulse can land a C4 throughout almost any of that floor plan over there. So you could say, since they're all kitchen, just ignore kitchen and go upstairs and go for the plant. But as soon as you start planning, Bolo's going to see it with his heartbeat sensor, and he's going to be able to take you out with a C4. So as long as Bolo's on the board, it's very risky to do anything but get control over kitchen. And as we saw, the I think Sweater was the one playing Maestro, was just able to pop off and get, I think, 3 kills that round.
Yeah, I mean, he did fantastic at holding down that kitchen area, just shutting down everybody that tried to push towards him. And that brings me to a point of Carnage and Chaos, so far this map, has not been doing too great on their roam clear. The first round, they didn't really have to go for any roam clear, but they slowed down as if they were going for roam clear, and then they got, you know, Bolo when he went for the late roam, but it wasn't entirely necessary. The second round, they didn't even really... I'm sure they knew that Bolo was downstairs, but they made no effort to really shut him down until after he had already used his C4 to get a kill. So, you know, that roam clear is coming in extremely late. It's going to put you at a major disadvantage, and I'm not sure, you know, why they're deciding, or why they decided not to really go for a roam clear that round. And then, you know, that last round, they went for the roam clear, but they all lost their gunfights while doing so. So it's kind of like teeter-tottering there for Carnage and Chaos. They need to work on their roam clear a little bit, and I could definitely see them getting a bit more confident, because that roam clear also helps you with your confidence in attacking a site, because you're like, okay, yeah, we've already cleared it out. There's no roamers anywhere. We've droned it all out. We've looked through places. We got a few roamers. And it makes you a lot more confident when you go for your execute. You don't have to worry about a flank so much. You don't have to think, oh, well, what if someone is sitting in the top of the tall tower? You know, it's these little things that all just kind of add up. And it's not really happening for Carnage and Chaos. Clueless on that Lion being prod down to quarter health after peeking Bolo on those main stairs.
It's very aggressive if you're a Lion player and you're the only one of your team who's actually in the building. Normally you want to save Lion because he's got such a powerful gadget, especially when you're trying to execute. But one thing I also want to mention is that Carnage and Chaos, like you said, they didn't really do a very good job of the roam clear, and I think one of the problems was in their minds, Carnage and Chaos didn't want to use any of their resources. They didn't want to use their smokes. They didn't want to use... they only used one Hibana X-Kairos pellet charge in order to get control of Kitchen, and when Disrupt is playing so heavily around that Kitchen defense, you have to be able to commit some of those resources. Yes, you won't have them for the execute later, but if the Maestro and the Pulse are playing there, and the defense has committed so many resources down there, then trading out those resources is a very good idea for you. And oh, they actually predict that Exo would dash out and try to take out the X-Kairos pellets, and they watching the angle, and they managed to take out the kill there. I think it was a little aggressive on his part to think that he could just run out and get those pellets down, but that also means that the Mira window should be opened unless there was an impact grenade that took out all of those X-Kairos.
And Sweater does find Carnage, Chef finds Dot Dash, Bolo finds Chef, Art finds Sweater. The trade's going back and forth. A line is going to come out as Bolo is up there going for that flank. It's Bolo and Trippin left trying to clutch this out. Bolo going for the flank. Trippin on site. The diffuser has been planted. Bolo with his heartbeat sensor is now going to know where a few of those attackers are. He goes for the peaks and he's going to get the shots off onto the Hibana. There's a player sitting by the garage and Art is going to find Bolo. It's all up to Trippin now, who is at lower than half health. He's going to get taken out by Art as well. And that's going to be Carnage and Chaos getting a second round on the board. It's going to be the first half 2-3 in favor of Disrupt.
And Carnage and Chaos going back to a more classic style of play on this map, where they put heavy emphasis on laundry room and they put heavy emphasis on the main entrance, the main hallway that allows you to plant there. And we saw it was just a pretty standard execution. They started out by taking out the hatch as well as the wall directly next to the hatch, so you could have a line of sight down into the little cubby around the laundry room. And as soon as the X-Kairos pellets came out, someone from Disrupt tried to push out into that little room and take them out, but that angle was already spotted out by Carnage and Chaos, so they got an easy pick there. And beyond that, they were just able to get the smoke plant down really easily, because I think Sweater missed his C4 because he was pushing right through the smoke into the face of Glaz, and we obviously saw that that didn't work out very well. So all I can think of is that Sweater from Disrupt was sort of panicking and trying to stop the bomb plant as much as he could, but there was a Glaz who could just see right through the smoke. And so Carnage and Chaos with a pretty good play. Disrupt, I think, a couple of misplays, but overall I think that sort of standard strategy of assaulting this main hallway worked better for Carnage and Chaos this time around.
Yeah, it's one of those things that every team knows. You're going to see it happen in ranked. You're going to see it happen in casual. You're going to see it happen in competitive play. It's an all-around solid take that's been practiced, that's been refined down to the T. And, you know, I'm surprised that it took Carnage and Chaos that long to really decide, hey, let's go for just a regular execute. It's something that everyone knows very well. And even if, you know, Disrupt is playing that default setup downstairs, it gives you a solid opportunity to at least get a take on site.
Clueless is actually going for a spawn peek here. It's a little bit of a hidden spawn peek, but it doesn't look like anyone from Disrupt even spawned on that side of the map. So unless Bolo takes the long way around, he's not going to get anything off of that. But Carnage is just going to pick off Bolo just like that. So he had a different... I think that was basically a spawn peek angle. Yeah, he was upstairs in the attic, so he was able to get the angle out there. So pretty easy kill by Carnage and Chaos, and already Disrupt lose Bolo, and they lose some concussion grenades, they lose impacts. Zofia did not use a single impact grenade there, so they're missing, I think, all of their hard breach at this point. Or sorry, all of their soft breach at this point, and their hard breach, once again, is onto Thermite, which we normally see Thermite for attacks in kids' dorms. Not so much downstairs here, because you generally only need to cover the hatches, and Hibana does that better than Thermite does because she has 3 pellets. However, I think overall Disrupt can still bring this back, though Carnage and Chaos is definitely in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid start. It's what they needed to start off their defensive half. And it seems like they're still playing pretty solid in here. Clueless could get shot from the left. Nope, not yet. No, Clueless is going to get the shots off on an Exo. Now Sweater pushing and is going to find the shots on a Clueless. It's a 4v3 as Sweater's going for another peek, firing more and more at, I believe that's Art that's over there. And now a Lion Pulse is going to come out, and, you know, Carnage is going to get spotted by the EE1D, but he's going to get the shots off on a Sweater. Anyways, Art is going to take out Trippin and Dot Dash, as well as Carnage and Chaos have a beautiful first defensive round.
Yeah, and that's the Valkyrie play right there, which pulls out the Deagle, has a ton of recoil, but it didn't really matter when you're that close to whoever you're trying to fight, and he just finishes it off with the knife as well. So one thing that we've been seeing from a lot of teams, but Disrupt didn't do it at all, is when you're defending the laundry room defense, you put most of your resources onto Meeting Hall, because if you control Meeting Hall, then you prevent the offensive side from getting control of the main hallway where the hatches, where we saw Carnage and Chaos played most of their attack from when they were assaulting the downstairs bomb site. So that's something that I think was just really good for Carnage and Chaos to do, was put all of their resources in the Meeting Hall and basically keep that threatening angle. And as you saw, Disrupt, they didn't have a choice. You might ask, why are they just pushing into Meeting Hall more and more? And while they could have pushed into Meeting Hall more cohesively, they could have had more of a plan going into it, but they did need to get control of Meeting Hall, because if they tried to go for any sort of execute, then Carnage and Chaos would have just peeked out of Meeting Hall and kill them as soon as they were trying to open up the hatches or do pretty much anything in the main room over there.
Yeah, it's one of the more standard holds. Like you said, we didn't really mention it when Disrupt was defending. They turtled down on site their entire defensive time when they were playing downstairs. They didn't play a lot towards meeting. Didn't have somebody roaming on the third or on the second floor. It's a bit easier to maintain control of meeting than to just turtle on site, because you have the rotates back to site. It gives you more time to waste. You can waste a lot more of the attacker's times, delay those executes. But I think with how Carnage and Chaos was playing their attacking rounds, it wasn't necessary for Disrupt to really spend their resources upstairs, because Carnage and Chaos was kind of slowing themselves down on their attacking rounds. But against a team like Disrupt, it's completely necessary to take every opportunity to slow them down as much as possible, because these guys will play they'll go straight to site and they'll clear out everybody on site, and then they'll make sure that you have to try to go for a retake, and it's really difficult to play against these guys, and it's kind of one of those things where you can't really predict exactly what's going to happen. So you have to be pretty much prepared for anything. Like Clueless on the castle in Watchtower, roaming castle. You know what? Screw it. If you're good enough with the gun, it could work.
Yeah, and there are sort of two schools of thought that you can take when you're playing castle. Most people fall into the just drop all 3 barricades and then go roam. Because once you drop the barricades, you obviously don't have to do anything else on site, and from then on you can just roam around, because again, you've already put down all your gadgets. But he's also a 3-speed, and the UMP's got some pretty low recoil, even though it's also low fire rate. So it's possible that you can definitely play him as a roamer. He also has impacts, which helps that out quite a bit. But there is also Sweater picking out Clueless, and also Art. That was a misplay, as Clueless didn't seem to call out the fact that Sweater was just playing in tower. And therefore, when Art tried to go for the C4, he didn't even know that there was someone behind him. That's a huge communication misplay.
Yeah, and it puts Disrupt in a pretty solid spot, although there is only a minute left on the clock, so there's a bit more that has to come in here from Disrupt. That line is going to go off. Chef finds Exo, and Trippin's going to find Chef. You have Trippin downed. Sweater finds Hopes. Carnage is the last one standing as Dot Dash finishes off Sweater. It's kind of unfortunate, not necessarily the kill you want to get. Carnage has to shoot that Claymore. That's going to give a lot of intel on where he is, but it doesn't seem like Disrupt is really reacting to it, as Carnage is making his way over towards the closet here. He's going to get the shots off onto Bolo, and now Bolo will follow. It's a 1 versus 2. He still has to go for the retake, as the diffuser is being planted inside of kids' dorms. I believe it went down in. You've got Trippin holding an angle now, as well as Dot Dash. And Carnage in... Oh, no. So it did go down in main dorms. But, Carnage has to go for a retake when there's a crossfire, and Dot Dash is going to find his shots. And that is going to be Disrupt taking yet another round.
And that was a super strong crossfire. You saw that anytime he tried to peek up to shoot either of the people who were shooting at him, the other angle just covered him completely. So that's exactly how you want to play a 1v anything situation, is you basically force the offense to push up into one of your teammates' line of sight to kill any of your teammates. And that sort of patient play definitely rewarded Carnage or Disrupt in that sort of retake situation there. So good play to them, good patience, and good crossfire overall. In terms of the rest of the round, we saw again Disrupt managed to get a bunch of pretty easy picks as Sweater was playing near the tower side of the map, and he managed to get 2 without a call out on where he was. And I think that's really what set the entire round in motion, because if you could just get 2 kills and get out, that is complete value. You're in a 3v5. The offense in that case can just play with those angles. You can play as you have a man up. You still have smoke grenades left. Everything is I don't think they actually had smoke grenades, never mind. But you still have like Zofia charges left. You still have a lot of disruption for the defense, and there's not much the defense can do at that point, especially if they're all just cooped up on site, which Kids Dorms is a site where if you're on site, there are a couple spots that you can stay. They're pretty strong spots, but they're also pretty predictable too.
Yeah, I mean, it was a solid round for Disrupt, and I've said it before, but if you're playing an entry fragger, and it's basically a 2-for-1 trade for you, then you're already in a good spot. So say you get 1 kill, but then you die, but then one of your teammates is there to support you, and they get the kill on the person who killed you. That's a solid spot for an entry fragger to be in. Yes, they only got 1 kill, and then they died, but they were traded back immediately, and still giving the man advantage to their team. But to get 2 kills like that and then walk away, you're in an even better position to be in, especially with a player like Sweater. When he's able to go through an entire round alive, that puts a Disrupt in a very solid spot. And yeah, I mean, it just kind of fell apart for Carnage and Chaos at that point. We do see Carnage and Chaos playing downstairs, and Clueless finding Sweater early on in the round. I believe, was it Bolo or Sweater? It was Bolo that got caught early by Clueless a few rounds ago. This time it's going to be Sweater's turn on that Twitch. So that mirror window downstairs, if it hasn't already been opened by a Twitch, it's in a much safer position right now, which is very good for Carnage and Chaos.
This also means that since there are bandit batteries on the wall that we see to the left of our screen right now, that Art was actually just looking at for a second, those reinforcements, there are bandit batteries on there, so you can't actually get... It's a lot harder to get control over Meeting Hall if these batteries are still up, and the fact that there's no Twitch means there's less of a chance for them to actually take them out. They still have a Thatcher for his EMPs, and they're actually just going to use him as well in order to take those out, so it's not a huge deal, but as you said, they are still going to be missing the fact that they can take out some of those Mira windows with Twitch. However, 2 kills have been gotten by the side of Carnage and Chaos. We just saw another one as Dot Dash goes down, and I think he only used 1 E, 1 D, and now EXO is going to take out Art, almost evening it up as we head to a 3v4 situation. Disruptor still pretty disadvantaged here on this offense, especially since Carnage is still playing the tower, and they just need to spend way too much time to try to flush him out.
With the kill from tripping on his chef, though, that's a little bit of action that's going to be towards site. You're going to notice that Carnage was making his way back towards the bottom of the stairwell there. He's going to be hanging out by Harry Potter, as I think Bolo is just kind of on flank watch at this point. Trippin does throw another EMP into that laundry room. Yeah, so Bolo is inside a Meeting Hall. He's going for the shots, but he misses him. He gets Jaeger in the foot, but not a lot of damage. Not a kill either. 40 seconds left in this round. It is a 3 versus 3. Never mind, it's a 2 versus 3 as EXO finds Hopes. And now you see another defender going behind that mirror window trying to take the position. It's going to be Clueless playing back there. Opening that up a little bit wider. He's going to get flashbang. The diffuser is going to start to go down. And EXO is just providing cover for Trippin at this point. It's Clueless and Carnage trying to go for this. EXO finds the headshot on a Clueless. Carnage takes out Bolo. It is a 1v2. He's going for the retake. EXO being low on health. Trippin, however, at full health. They just have to play it safe. Trippin is going to find the shots onto Carnage. And Disrupt is going to take round 8. Leave that puts them on match point as well.
I believe it does, and Carnage and Chaos have definitely they definitely want to try to shift around their defense a little bit more and see what they can do, because so far Disrupt have been just winning most of these rounds on defense. I think have Carnage and Chaos won a single round since they swapped over? I think they haven't.
They got 1 round.
They got one. Okay, so they
Yes,
got their
they
very
got
first
the
round.
Yes, they got their first round because then they had to play upstairs, and they've lost both rounds since then.
Yeah, so Carnage and Chaos's defense has not been very strong so far, even though they have been getting a decent amount of picks. It's just Disrupt managed to execute better than Carnage and Chaos did once when they were on defense. So at this point, Disrupt are feeling pretty comfortable with Lion. Dash is going to keep playing him. And he's been playing a little bit too aggressive for a Lion, in my opinion, but it works every other round. I would just like to see it work every round instead of wasting any of those EE1D charges, because they can be so strong if you're trying to plant, because if you go for a plant, then the enemy can't peek out, or else they get completely spotted, in which case it's just an easy moment for Chef.
Whoops.
Oh no, that's
F's in
that's
chat.
a yike. That's a yikes. That's an oof. Hard oof.
That's smoke. That is smoke off the board by his own teammate
on match
within
point.
the first 5 seconds. On match point. That's a tough position for them to be in. A lot of plant denial gone from that. I don't know if Bandit has a C4 on him. Mira probably has a C4, but you know, it's up to Art and Chef. Art actually has a barbed wire, so he doesn't have a C4. Their only plant denial is Chef, and I just heard a mirror window get opened as well. So already this round is not looking too great for Carnage and Chaos. I think Disrupt knows this, and I have a feeling that we're going to see, you know, an incredibly aggressive Disrupt during this round. They're going to kind of make their way onto site quickly. They know that they're in an advantageous position, and they're just going to go in and go for those gunfights and make sure that they win them. You see Dash and Sweater making their way. It looked like they were heading towards bunker already.
Yeah, the one of the game settings, I believe, is the Pro League HUD. So I don't think there was a notification that Carnage and Chaos had a team kill, but one drone is all it takes to spot a dead person on the floor, and you just asked your team, hey, we didn't kill anyone yet, right? Yeah, the round hasn't started yet. And so they know that it's a 5v4. However, it does quickly go back down to a 4v4 as Art gets 1 kill on a Trippin, but Sweater's going to pick up Carnage B as well, and that's going to bring us to a 3v2 or 3v4. And Disrupt are still in control here. Sweater has a really good drone that hasn't been spotted out. And Chef is watching the wrong angle for that right there, even though he's nearly staring the drone in the face.
Sweater goes in. He's going to get the knife on a Chef as Exo finds Art. It's a 1 versus 4.
And that's going to be a really hard situation for Clueless Marks, especially because he's playing a roamer sort of role. The only thing on his side right now is the K1A and the SMG-12 being just fantastic guns, and the fact that he has a little bit of the element of surprise, but not anymore, as everyone knows generally where he's playing. Some of these floors haven't been opened up yet. He's taken the bulletproof camera, so he doesn't have impacts to go through any of those hatches. So the fact that Disrupt barely opened any hatches in order to make their defense actually benefits them in this sort of situation. And now Exo is holding a pixel peek here, trying to do anything he can. He's actually going to push forward. He's getting the kill on a Clueless Marks, trading out Dash, and that is going to be Disrupt winning map 1 on Oregon.
Very solid play from Disrupt there. A few mistakes happening here and there, but in the end, they were able to adapt as necessary. And, you know, that second half, you saw Carnage and Chaos get the 1 defense round, but right after that, Disrupt got right back into their flow and made sure that they kind of shut it out for the rest of the map. Look at Sweater up there with 15 kills. Just some solid plays coming out from him tonight. You know, on the Carnage and Chaos side, it's fairly balanced along that scoreboard. Unfortunately, Hopes did have 0 kills, but kills aren't necessarily everything in this game. But I do have to say that did kind of put a little bit of a dent into Carnage and Chaos. We are going to take a short break before we jump into map 2 of Carnage and Chaos versus Disrupt. So please stick around. We'll be back shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to CCS Season 3 North America. We are here with the match Carnage and Chaos versus Disrupt, moving into Map 2. My name is Crazy Man. I am joined tonight by the ambitious Azaraki.
You still got that sheet up?
Yes.
Awesome. Ambitious is pretty right, but we get into this game. Hopefully, Carnage and Chaos have a good amount of ambition themselves because they need to bring this back after a pretty lackluster defensive side. On offense, they were doing pretty well, actually. They traded pretty much every other round, but their defense was just lacking. And now Disrupt get the second ban for the offensive side, and it's going to be Glaz. So we're going to see Ying and Glaz taken off the board. So again, sort of targeting the whole smoke plant thing that we've been seeing all over the place. Though Glaz is honestly just a very solid ban in Border in general.
And as we get the first defensive ban here, it's going to be Mira. Thank goodness Flynn is not here. He would lose his mind. I don't know if he's hanging out in chat or anything, though, but every time we go to Border, I know that he is somewhere praying that we don't see a Mira ban.
Yeah, Mira changes up Border quite a bit, and frankly, almost slows it down a little bit, too, because if you're on offense and you see where the Mira is set up, you generally just say, all right, let's go to where the Mira is not set up and attack that side. So unless Mira sets one up in Armory Wall and one up in Office, in which case you just have to decide which side you're going to commit to. But in either case, it's still definitely doable. But the Mira ban will just make defenses a little bit harder, and Valkyrie is also pretty popular on this map too, especially considering how much information you can get by tossing Valkyrie cams outside. And those are a lot harder not only to see, but they're even harder for IQ to detect because you have to be moving over towards that side of the map in order to even find them. So Valk can be a pretty strong operator for defenders on this map.
Yeah, and no surprise, we're going to see a Maestro being picked because he doesn't provide as much utility as Mira, but those Evil Eyes can be kind of useful when it comes to plant denial, kind of useful when you need to get a camera somewhere that you don't want destroyed. It doesn't fully replace those the Mira windows, but they do provide something similar. And then that Pulse as well on Clueless is definitely going to be downstairs. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go downstairs. But I could definitely see Disrupt kind of going in and making sure that they clear out all the roamers. That's one of the things that Disrupt is pretty good at, is clearing a map very quickly, whether it's straight onto site or whether they go for the roam clear first.
And it all depends on which, where they defend or where they make sure they have roam clear is dependent on which side they decide to attack. If you're playing on the, if you're planning on attacking through Armory, then you have to clear out ventilation, you have to clear out workshop, and you have to clear out CCTV. And oftentimes you want to also clear. This is a pretty cheeky C4. I don't think it'll get a kill because this is not a very common place for enemies to walk through when they're on offense for this bomb site. But yeah, it looks like he's not going to get anything, and he should be just picking it up and tossing it somewhere else.
Yeah, he's gonna go ahead and pick it up. That would have been a complete waste.
Ooh,
Trippin down though, over by AC.
Yeah, I'm not sure who did that, but I think they're trying to still get a return kill there. I think it might have been Chef, as he actually just retreats back to the safety of the bomb site. Again, LMG with ACOG, and it's got surprisingly low recoil for being an LMG with an ACOG, so it's a very strong gun, it's a very popular gun, and one of the reasons Maestro is so fantastic right now. Like you said, his gadget is sort of like a slower Mira window. You can make it function like that, and it also has a couple of extra uses that don't necessarily make up for the fact that a Mira window can be so much faster and you can just peek out and get a headshot or peek out and get a C4. That EXO is going to take out Art. And that's going to be the first kill of the round. But yeah, I think Maestro definitely makes up for those deficiencies with just how fantastic his gun is.
Yeah, a very strong operator that I like seeing incorporated into the meta. I like playing Maestro. Kind of, it's a bit more fun than some other operators. But EXO being brought pretty low by one of those Evil Eyes. The Chef is still alive and still kicking. Lion is going to use his, I believe that's the second EE1D, as Bolo now finds Clueless Disrupt at a 5-3 advantage right now for this round, but a lot of damage on Exo, who still kind of, I think, was trying to hold the AC window. Dot Dash does find hopes, as well as Carnage, putting it to a 5 versus 1. Maestro Chef is going to find the kill onto Dot Dash, and Sweater will trade it back immediately, giving Disrupt a pretty definitive round 1.
I want to put a lot of that round on both Dot Dash and the Shot Caller for Disrupt, because that was an example of really good usage of a Lion EE1D. A lot of times we see teams pop an EE1D and then just sort of wait and hope that someone triggers it. But that's not what Disrupt did. Disrupt weren't happy with sitting around at all. They used the EE1D to get ground and get kills. Even if they didn't get kills, they got so much map control by using the EE1D and pushing up with it that they end up being advantageous in that sort of situation. And that's what you want to do with the EE1Ds. If you don't get a pick, you want to at least cover a lot of ground and make sure that you get right up into those spots that you have to be. And they completely cleared out Workshop and Ventilation with a single EE1D that makes them not only a lot safer to attack the site, but it also lets them play the vertical game by shooting up through the floors. So overall, I just really like that sort of coordination and that play by Dot Dash. We also saw that they were hovering a Blitz, but that's going to be 6-picked off to a Thatcher. But it did get Carnage and Chaos to bring a Legion, though Legion is still a very strong operator even if there isn't a Blitz.
Yeah, I do want to bring back, I said last map, I was like, oh yeah, Disrupt can be pretty strong with that Blitz. That's probably why they banned Legion, but then they didn't bring Blitz during any of their rounds. Maybe it's one of those things where it's kind of like a fallback for them. They're like, okay, well, let's bring out the Blitz and just kind of shut things down. But, man, I would be terrified to go up against Disrupt if they have a Lion, a Dokkaebi, and a Blitz. That is just pure nightmare fuel for me. It's probably pure nightmare fuel for you guys. It's horrifying. Thankfully, they didn't do that.
Yeah, thankfully. And Carnage and Chaos are going to be thinking that as well, because even if they do have a Legion, it does slow down Blitz, but the overall strategy can still work out really well, because even if Blitz is slowed down, you still have the issue of you're getting EE1D'd while Blitz pushes in, so if you move at all, you're going to get spotted and then shot through a wall, so it can be a very tough situation. But Legion is still strong no matter what, because he gets just a ton of mines over the course of a match, and they can give him a lot of information as well as do a little bit of extra damage. So right there, they know someone's already pushed in through the room adjacent to CCTV right here. Carnage B is not going to do much with that information because he is spotted out by a drone.
And a little bit of control going towards the first floor immediately as Exo actually places a Claymore to watch the flank, but then pushes in past the Claymore, leaving his flank slightly uncovered. A Dokkaebi, a Logic Bomb is going to go off, and now everyone's phones are ringing. Carnage B in offices could be caught off if Sweater decides to open it up that window, but he's not going to. Instead, he kind of sends a drone there. Maybe he saw the top of Carnage B's head with that drone. I don't think he did. Now you've got an EU1D going off as Sweater does notice him behind there, and Sweater goes for the shots, gets half health onto Carnage B as Hopes finds Exo, and then Bolo finds Hopes. It's a 4v4 right now with 1:30 left on the clock. Carnage B low on health. Trippin is going to find Chef. Clueless Marks is going to find Trippin now, putting it back to a 3v3. The trades are going back and forth as Carnage and Chaos is still hanging onto control of the top floor for the most part. But Sweater, making his way onto site, is going to find the kill onto Art. It is a 3 versus 1 now as Bolo found Clueless off site. Carnage B is in offices, and Disrupt knows this. They're taking full site control right now, getting that diffuser down. Carnage goes towards the hallway, does not get spotted by Bolo, but there it is. Bolo is going to find the shots on a Carnage B, and Disrupt take round 2 as well.
Disrupt had all the information at the end there, so at that point, there's not much you can do as Carnage, and they end up closing out the round. I want to say, so a lot of the, both of the defenses that we've seen so far, I want to say Carnage and Chaos have not put enough resources down into the ventilation and workshop area, because, especially during that last round, Disrupt, I think Bolo got 3 kills that round, and 2 of them were shooting up through the floors. So if they had anyone to challenge that, then you could either pick up one of those kills as Bolo is focused completely on the floor and looking straight up. He's not going to be able to win a 1v1 gunfight like that. And even if you don't get the kill, you can still buy time. You can still take some pot shots at him, run away, and keep him guessing, and make it so that every time he does look up, he needs to worry about, is the person going to peek again when I look up? And so that's a lot of extra time that he won't actually end up looking up, or he might need to call over another one of his teammates to basically cover him while he does. So overall, I think Carnage and Chaos should have put more emphasis on the vertical part of their defense and play more around, at least put one or two more people around ventilation and workshop.
Yeah, there wasn't a very heavy focus on roaming there, and Disrupt kind of knew that, but they were prepared for a roam a bit, because everywhere that Bolo went while he was downstairs, he had someone with him. So they might have been able to get a trade and slow things down a bit, but just overall, another strong round from Disrupt. But yeah, I mean, you are right in saying that they should have focused a little bit more on their roam downstairs, and we see a fuse shield in the hands of EXO. Definitely calling that, you know, Carnage and Chaos were going to go downstairs because that fuse would be useless upstairs. Clueless going to find the first kill onto Sweater, though. That's going to be Dokkaebi, and a huge player off the board. The Lion is going to fall to him as well. Disrupt just kind of throwing themselves away right now. I'm not exactly sure why. Whoa!
Whoa. What a shot by EXO right there, and Trippin's going to take another one down onto Art, so that actually evens up this kill scores on either side of the map. We are sitting at 3v3, and yeah, like you said, I don't think Disrupt's deaths needed to happen, because Sweater should have called out any information about his deaths, and Dot Dash, again, he's playing a little bit too aggressive for what I usually like to see in a Lion player, so he did not get to use either of his EE1Ds, which is basically why you pick Lion. You don't really pick him for the gun. You pick him so that you can get those EE1Ds down, and not using any of them means you just wasted an entire operator pick.
And Chef is going to make his way up the east stairs, heading back, trying to get some top floor control back. As you can see, EXO is in Armory right now, had his shield out, placing a fuse charge. So the call out is probably going to come to Chef. Chef is probably going to go ahead and peek this angle soon. And there it is. Chef is going to find the kill on the EXO before the fuse charge went off, and he's going to start rotating back to site. Now Bolo does get downed as Trippin is trying to get in and go for a plant. So Disrupt not in the greatest position right now, and Bolo will fall. Trippin is going to take out Carnage though, and Hopes finds Trippin to clean it up. Carnage getting their first round on the board for Border.
In all fairness, that should not have been as close as it was for Carnage and Chaos once they get 2 picks immediately on the round. And those picks were the Dokkaebi and the Lion. 2 gadgets that are very important when you want to start executing. So overall, I think it was still a little bit sloppy, but they did manage to do it. I'm not really sure what I think of the Fuse pick, because even if there were more people alive, I don't know how good it would have been. Maybe if they had both Fuse and Lion alive at the same time and they could pull off that sort of combo, then it would have been more useful. But as it stood, they didn't really get to do anything with the Fuse, and at that point there wasn't even enough people alive to cover him while he started using his gadgets, so he just got shot in the face really easily when he decided to go for anything like that. And without a Lion, even if you do Fuse downstairs, the defense can just run, and there's no real punishment for them if you don't have a Lion.
Yeah, but I those were huge picks right off the bat, and I have to commend Clueless for those plays. It was incredibly risky, but it worked off beautifully for him. And it kind of is a bit of a testament to the sheer amount of skill of all of the players that are on Disrupt, to see that even after those 2 incredibly early picks onto 2 very, heavy gadget-based operators, they were still able to just go for almost a complete comeback on that round. A few slip-ups here and there did mess it up for them, but I mean, it was wild to see them actually able to get those kills, especially that shot from EXO towards Break Room. That was just absolutely insane.
He avenged his teammates really well that time, and if that shot didn't hit, then it would have definitely been more decisive for Carnage and Chaos, and Dot Dash is going to pick up the kill onto Chef, who was trying to get a cheeky early pick I think Carnage and Chaos might be a little bit desperate right now as they try to just keep going for these plays over and over. And once it happens a few times, you sort of start to expect it. And now Clueless is going to play in CCTV, which is a very strong position for any defender when you're trying to defend the armory, because you have complete control over the armory wall. They are going to have to flush him out before they try any sort of execution on that entire half of the map, but it is possible that they just ignore it, depending on what EXO decides to do, because he is the Blitz, and the Blitz is generally the cornerstone of this sort of team composition.
First EU1D is going to come out, and Switter will find Clueless as a result of it. Hopes is extremely low on health, and that Doc was the first one to fall for the round, so he has to go for a reset here, which puts Carnage and Chaos into a very risky position as Blitz is pushing onto site. He does get right next to the Bandit. He's going to melee Art, and now you see some smoke grenades coming out as Blitz is going to go ahead and push a few more of these players over here. He does down Carnage. It's all up to Hopes as the last EE1D comes out, and Hopes is blinded. Trippin gets the kill onto him and Disrupt. This is the kind of aggressive play that I entirely expect from them. Just complete and utter gun skill, walking right onto site, using some of their utility to give them a bit more of an upper hand, but just absolutely dominating any opponents that stand in their way.
And that's definitely how you use the Blitz. And they're going to hover it again. They might sixth pick off of it, considering I believe Carnage and Chaos are going for a let's destroy the Blitz lineup with Legion, Ella, and Smoke all on the board. Of course, Clueless has been favoring Ella, so he's more so picking it for the gun, I think, than the gadget. And Smoke is obviously a cornerstone for almost any defense, so they're going to be keeping that. But it looks like Blitz is going to stay on the board. Clueless actually switches off to Vigil, so a little bit less utility in order to take out Blitz. However, the guns are just better. Honestly, the K1A and SMG-12 are both fantastic, and he's gonna hopefully put them to good use. And I'm actually surprised that we didn't see as much Vigil when Disrupt was defending on Oregon.
Yeah, sometimes it's an operative, solid guns in the hands of almost any player, but in the hands of the players on these teams, just absolutely menacing. So yeah, I do have to agree. It's kind of surprising we didn't see Disrupt bring him out at all. But Clueless, being on the Vigil, I'm assuming he has impacts, and he could potentially go for a run out. He's been going for those. No, he's not going for the run out. Okay, he's up. Yeah, he's up by main hallway. Hopefully, he doesn't die in a kind of dumb way here. But I was almost expecting him to go for a run out from detention and try to get some shots up towards Valley.
Looks like nothing cheeky will happen this time, which honestly I like Carnage and Chaos more when they're playing a little bit more standard and they use those early pickoffs to catch people off guard. But already a super aggressive push, and he's going in, he's going to get Carnage B, goes for a second kill, doesn't quite get anything, but that's the Blitz off the board with a 4v4. They do take a lot of control over ventilation. However, Carnage and Chaos are going to get another kill off the back of it. Art gets 2 as he is playing Bandit right in ventilation. Goes for the C4, and he's going to get Sweater on top of that. Clueless marks, picks off Dot Dash, and now it is a 1v4 situation. Or, sorry, 0v4 situation as everyone on Disrupt has died, and they're just going to have to defuse the diffuser at this point. And that was a very powerful round by Carnage and Chaos as Disrupt got a little bit too aggressive there. And I think Blitz lost his life way too early.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to catch up. No, in all seriousness, just I said before, this is kind of aggression that I expect to see from Disrupt, where they just kind of go in, they dominate everybody that stands against them. But Carnage and Chaos is, almost at the same spot on the ladder right now as Disrupt, because they're all very solid players, and they held off Disrupt's aggression better than I've seen most other teams that go up against it. They had 4 people still standing at the end there. The only person that died was that first pick from the Blitz. And it completely fell apart for Disrupt there. They committed to the early take and the early plant, but Art was playing the Bandit, and he was on site somehow. I didn't actually notice how he got on site, if he had been on site from the beginning. But Art was able to shut down the other 2 attackers that were on site, and then it was just 2 members of Disrupt that were outside. So
He got a C4 as well onto Art too, so that was three kills in a very short period of time.
yeah, I mean, it was just complete domination from Carnage and Chaos when Disrupt thought they were going to have the upper hand. So, I mean, well played from Carnage and Chaos. They get their second round on the board. We're moving into the second half now. So we have Disrupt on defense with 3-2 lead, and Sweater on that Vigil can be terrifying.
Yeah, we've already seen throughout the first map that Sweater was one of the top fraggers by far. He got 15 kills in the last map, and honestly, every time we look at him, he's usually in a fight and probably getting a kill. So him on the Vigil, who just has, once again, fantastic guns, is something that you want to be worried about if you are Carnage and Chaos. But we did also see, Carnage and Chaos, this time around, their defense was a little bit better than it was last map. And their offense wasn't really what they struggled with last time. So we might be seeing a possible comeback potential here for Carnage and Chaos as they start their offense already, putting a little bit of effort over toward the Office's side of the map, but it doesn't look like they're trying to commit to anything just yet.
Looks like Sweater was trying to stop Carnage and Chaos from getting control of those east stairs there. And that's an interesting spot to be playing. He does get droned out, so he's playing a little bit more conservative. But Clueless is already taking control of Break Room. He started taking control of the L hallway. And, he's taking control of security now, making sure that, he can cut off any rotates here and there. As Carnage now, as the Zofia from below, is going to try to open up that mirror window after taking out any bandit batteries that may have been along that wall. So overall, a pretty solid round start for Carnage and Chaos. This is a better attacking side than what we saw from them last map. Last map, it took them forever to really get into position for anything or really make any solid plays. This time, they're going in quickly. They're getting a lot of map control as they need it. And it's working out pretty well for them. Clueless is going to find Exo. Sweater goes for the flank and does find Hopes. He goes for the shots, but Clueless is going to shut him down, putting it to a 3 versus 4 as Trippin fell as well at some point. I didn't actually catch that. E1D goes off. Minute 15 left in the round. It seems like the attack is slightly starting to stall out. Carnage does find Dot Dash as I'm saying that, though.
Yeah, and that brings us to a 2v4. We still have Echo on the board, who is one of the best operators in any sort of clutch situation or any situation where things go down to the wire. And he's actually in a very good spot to deny any plants that would come up as well. He's going to get one pick through the smoke as Bolo is actually hiding here behind the wall. He tries to go for 2 picks. He gets 1, but he's going to run out into the E1D. Phone still going off as Trippin is brought down to a very small amount of health. And now he's going to try to challenge more angles. Art manages to take out Bolo, and that leaves us with a 1v2. Once again, the Echo is a very good clutch operator. He sees a foot, tries to shoot at it, but it gives away his position, and Trippin is going to fall to the hands of Clueless.
I mean, that was a solid start for this half for Carnage and Chaos. But this kind of happened last map too, where it was 3-2 after the first half. Carnage and Chaos got that first round on the second half, but then Disrupt was able to adapt. So I could definitely see Disrupt changing up the way that they're doing things this round, trying to be a little bit more careful. You can see Exit with that alibi, already a pretty big change up. No voluntary. Oh, I almost said voluntarily no Mira because I completely forgot Mira was banned out. So, whoopsies.
Yeah, that would have been weird if it was on the board and they still didn't pick it. But one thing I am surprised about is that Disrupt aren't taking a Pulse. We saw Bolo favoring Pulse in the pretty much anytime he plays in the CCS. Like, he's been a very strong proponent of the Pulse, and this is a map where it's very strong for that operator, especially because last time we saw Carnage and Chaos, they put almost all of their resources into CCTV. They took CCTV and they started attacking the armory wall from there, and they did a pretty good job of it. And so if you have a Pulse, you can look through the floor, you can pop a C4 up into CCTV from customs, and that's a very strong sort of counter to the style of play that Carnage and Chaos have been playing so far. So I'm a little surprised that we don't see a Pulse.
Maybe it's one of those things that Disrupt is kind of keeping up their sleeves. If they pull out the Pulse too early, then Carnage and Chaos can be like, okay, well, now we really need to focus on that Pulse. So then they focus a bit more on their roam clear, and it becomes basically just a disadvantage for Disrupt to bring that pulse. It's kind of a trade-off, a little bit of a trade-off. Maybe we'll see the Bolo on that pulse again at some point during this map, but I think it's going to require Carnage and Chaos to maybe get to match point before Disrupt really decides, okay, let's bring out the things that we know for a fact are going to give us an upper hand.
That could be too, just hiding their strategy for a little bit, making sure that they can catch their opponents off guard even more. So we see Sweater on the Echo now, and again, we keep talking about Echo being a very good clutch operator, but considering that, it is a little bit strange that he's playing in Offices right now, because Offices is one of those popular places for the offense to take, and he actually picks off one Yokai drone right off the bat. So Clueless getting the upper hand on the Sweater right there, and now he's a little bit trapped, and he's going to go down. So that's the Echo off the board in the first minute of the game, and he's only got one Yokai drone left. That's not a good start for Disrupt.
I don't think he even got his... Oh, yeah. Okay, so he did get his other Yokai out. I was going to say, that is disastrous if he didn't even get his second Yokai out. But yeah, Carnage and Chaos in a solid position. They're getting their drones in there as they're able to. Chef almost getting taken out, though. Is going to be brought to half health. Throws a grenade in there, try to see if he can get that back. But Jaeger has an ADS sitting around the corner, and that's going to deny that frag. Exo on this Maestro. He's going to go for a little bit of a peek here as a drone comes in towards him. Doesn't notice the drone, but the drone does notice him. Clueless has made his way over into Office. He's taking control of this. Throw some flashbangs up there. I believe that was Bolo standing on top of the shelving, but he did give up his position. Dot dash at the top of East Stairs, and I don't think Clueless is aware of it just yet.
This East Stairs flank, Bolo's going to try to peek that top spot. I think some people call it the Pengu spot, but it's definitely a pretty strong location if no one knows you're there, but at this point everyone knows about it, so you do have to be careful if you try to challenge it. And Chef is going to pick off Dot Dash, who was trying to go for a flank on the East Stairs. That is a powerful flank if the offense doesn't really know about it, but they did that time. And now we have EXO as the only one left for his team. He is playing Maestro, so very strong gun, very good potential to clutch, but his phone is still going off. Everyone knows about it. The smoke plant goes down, and now he needs to retake a 1v3 when Armory control is completely on the side of Carnage and Chaos. This is going to be a tough order as a third of the timer has already ticked down.
Yeah, I mean, his phone is still going off. He's going for the retake. He's made his way over to half wall, but he's got 3 attackers sitting outside ready for him. Doesn't even have the ACOG on his LMG, which, it's preference at that point, but hopes it's going to find the headshot on an EXO. It's going to be Carnage taking another round, putting them up for the first time that we've seen during this matchup.
So that one thing I really like about Carnage and Chaos is when they went for this attack, they did slow down, but they slowed down after they got ready for their execution. Right, the main thing that we were worried about with Carnage and Chaos in Oregon was they got into the building and then just didn't really do much until they started to execute, and then they waited until 30 seconds before they executed, so they ran out of time really easily. This time what Carnage and Chaos are doing is that they're getting in all of their positions for the execute, so they take control of CCTV, they take control of Offices, and this time they wait, but they're, first of all, again, already in position, and second of all, they're covering their flanks. So we saw as soon as Dot Dash tried to go for the East Stairs flank, there was someone watching it. As soon as someone tried to flank around to get someone in CCTV, there was someone watching it. And overall, Carnage and Chaos just covered the bases really well that time. And I really like that sort of adaptation from their first map, where they've sort of shored up one of those weaknesses that we were talking about.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to like how much they've practiced this map. Maybe for some reason Carnage and Chaos doesn't have as much experience or practice on Oregon as they have on Border. I know Border is like an instant pick map for a lot of teams, and it's it's like a each team that I've participated in, whether it was coaching or playing or whatever it was, Border was one of those maps that were like, all right, let's lock down Border immediately because everyone already knows Border. So that means we kind of need to make sure that we know it as well. And it's one of those maps that I don't see any team not having experience with. But Oregon is in a similar situation, so I'm not sure why Carnage and Chaos seemed so weary on Oregon. Maybe it's just because Disrupt is such a powerful team on Oregon.
Yeah, that could very well be it too. Maybe a little bit of a mental game there as they were psyching themselves out about facing the second-ranked team in CCS. It looks like this map, it's not bothering them nearly as much. The Sweater has actually gone over to the Pulse, and it was 6th picked onto Pulse as well, so Carnage and Chaos might not know about this yet. It all depends on how well they droned him out. But again, I do like the Pulse being on the board. Unfortunately, they picked the Pulse when they went for a downstairs hold, so they're in Ventilation Workshop, so it's a lot more difficult for Pulse to do things a floor down than it is a floor up, because a floor up you can just toss a C4 and be done with it. But a floor down you actually have to break open the floor and get some shots down. So Dot Dash picking off 2 already, and Trippin gets another. Disrupt are starting this round off a lot stronger than they did last round. And now Carnage and Chaos are already finding themselves in a situation where they have 2 and they need to assault 4. As 1 actually goes down, Art picks off Dot Dash, but at that point Dot Dash already did his work. He got 2 kills off the start of the round.
There's that pulse from down below. Sweater is going to find the C4 onto Art, and that's going to leave it up to Carnage to try to clutch it out. He jumps in the window and immediately gets shut down by Exo's Evil Eye, of all things.
Yeah, it's always fun to see an Evil Eye kill. We have to assume that someone else started to do damage, and yeah, there it is. It's a little bit of BM there, but overall, Disrupt played that. I don't even know if I can say they played that round really well, because I didn't see any of it, right? It was just Dot Dash going off, and then they got 3 picks at the start of the round. So the gunplay, I can tell you, by Disrupt was fantastic that round.
Yeah, I mean, it was solid. And I was going to try to mention something about the whole pulse thing, like when you're playing that downstairs site, but it happened all so quickly that I couldn't mention it. But I did want to say it ended up coming into play. Sweater did get the C4 kill on Art. And I'm perfectly fine with people bringing a pulse while they're playing downstairs. Still, you want to maintain control of that top floor still, and when you control the sites downstairs and you've got other people down there guaranteed to be covering you, it kind of gives you more opportunity to use a bit more of your utility safely to get a C4 up onto that ceiling there and blow up someone who could be above you.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good point, because a lot of offenses like to start with clearing out armory first and then work their way down to workshop and ventilation if they do play that site. So yeah, you were right. It's a really good idea still to bring the pulse even when you're downstairs, because you have that sort of opportunity to keep control of where the attackers usually go from downstairs.
10 seconds to go.
Yeah, we see Sweater on the pulse once again. He does get Exo to open up that hatch for him, so probably going to see him going downstairs in just a second. I think he's opening up this wall here, so he could try to deny control of east stairs or maybe that east balcony from this position that he's in. There's a lot of potential for what he's doing, and with Disrupt, it's kind of hard to predict, especially with Sweater. It's even harder to predict when it's Sweater. But
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing. Sweater's been a really unpredictable player, not only in this series, but in CCS in general. And that's part of the reason why he's gotten so many kills and why he's at the top of the scoreboard for most of the games he plays, is just being such an unpredictable player.
And it looks like Dot Dash is sitting inside of supply room. He could try to catch someone off guard if they go for a rappel. You have the Zofia right outside of that window. Quite frequently, you'll see attackers spray that window open, try to give themselves a bit of an angle onto it, but they're just kind of letting Dot Dash live in there for the time being as Sweater's over by Workshop. Looks like Dot Dash gets the call from Sweater that he's been droned out, so now he's going to try to rotate and give some cover. He does find the kill onto Carnage, takes a lot of damage to himself before running away. Hopes is downed. And Art is going to go ahead and set off a logic bomb. Hope's crawling away, trying to make sure that he stays alive here. And, as you said, there's the Pro League HUD settings, which I think they do show the kills, but they don't show the points. So they don't know that he's downed. Chef being brought pretty low, as well as Dot Dash is going to find the kill on him. Clueless finds Sweater now. It's a 4 versus 3. Clueless making his way into Workshop. Art going into Customs, trying to see if they can clear out this last roamer hanging out of by Passport.
And Dot Dash has been playing incredibly well so far. He's finding picks left and right, and that's another one as he takes off Clueless and gets away with his life. So Clueless just not expecting that angle there, and so far Disrupt have been playing pretty unpredictably from multiple members of their team. There's a reset with the Evil Eye. Pretty creative use of that. And now we're going to see Hopes and Art try to attack. They both don't have full health, and they're attacking into 4 people, 3 of which have full health. So pretty much every advantage is in the side of Disrupt at this point because, as we're seeing right now, Carnage and Chaos, the only control they have is over Workshop and Ventilation, and they don't really have anything that lets them attack upward, right? Ash and Zofia are already down, so they don't have any soft breach anymore.
Yeah, and they have no way of getting rid of those bandit batteries that are on the armory wall. So this take has to come up these metal stairs because there's not really much else that they can do. The Echo drone is going to come off, and Exo is going to walk around the corner with that LMG and hip fire both Hopes and Art into the ground. That's going to be Disrupt, bringing themselves to match point.
Yeah, that... Again, it's hard when you're Carnage and Chaos in that situation to do anything, but that was still a good push by Exo. And as we see the scoreboard, Exo is actually the one who's bringing it home for his team this time. So a lot of that comes from the Maestro play, which we've seen be very popular with him, and for good reason, as he's just getting all sorts of picks across the board. And now, just looking at the defense, they're going for a ventilation workshop. So obviously the armory site has been locked out since they just won a defense there. However, we do see some teams go for bathroom tellers as a defense if they want to catch the offense off guard. Looks like we won't be seeing it this time. Maybe Disrupt haven't practiced it a bunch, or maybe they just want to stick to more of the classics. But bathroom tellers can be a very defensible site if you know what you're doing, but you have to have good communication, you have to utilize Castle very well, and you have to get control of offices, which if you're not practiced at, can be a situation that you can lose pretty easily if the offense has practice in office attack.
Yeah, I think the teller's bathroom hold is a bit more of a, I've said this a few times tonight, and I'm sorry I keep using the same phrase, but it's a high risk, high reward kind of a site. Early on in a match, I could definitely see a team like Disrupt saying, hey, let's go bathroom tellers, catch them off guard, see if we can pull something off with that. But this late in the game, when they're on match point, they're on match point, Carnage and Chaos has a chance to bring this into overtime. They really need to kind of just shut it all down right now. Otherwise, Carnage and Chaos puts themselves into a better position to be able to take this map and for us to see map 3, which would be Consulate. So I think Disrupt is just like, hey, let's lock it all down right here. We're going to do the best that we can to make sure we close it out here so we can be finished with this matchup, and we'll move on to the next one. And Carnage and Chaos, they've been performing very well on this map so far, so I could see them bringing the fight this round and forcing us into overtime for the rest of this map.
Yep. We also see a Capcan picked by Disrupt, which is definitely a change-up, and when there's not an IQ, it can work decently. You get people to half health with some explosions, but when there is an IQ, you don't really have too much of an excuse to get caught out by that. And as I say that, Hope's actually triggered one himself, and he's already at half health, so Capitel's already doing his job, even though there is an IQ on the board. They had to have droned out the fact that there was a Capcan as well, right?
I didn't actually pay full attention during the drone phase, but for the most part, they probably had a solid idea of it. But Carnage at the bottom of these stairs catches Top Dash completely off guard. With all of the windows that they've made it through, Carnage has gone through a bunch of different spots where I saw Capcan traps being placed. So I don't doubt that they already know of his existence. Hopes does find Sweater, and then Exo finds Chef. Trippin now dropping through that hatch as well, because it looks like Carnage and Chaos is trying to commit to this execute. Trippin finds Hopes Exo finds Hopes, and then Trippin finds Carnage. It's Clueless and Art left alive here, as Clueless does find Bolo. It's a 2v2, Trippin at half health. Art over by the metal stairwell is going to pull out that SMG-12 while he goes for a play. Trippin is going to shut his phone off from inside of the bathroom. 1:15 left on the clock. And, Carnage and Chaos is in a position here where they have time to drone out, but they need to be really careful about it. And Exo is going to shut down Art with that LMG. It's all up to Clueless to try to bring this back, to try to bring it into overtime. He gets the shot onto Exo. It's going to be a 1v1, a minute left. Trippin at half health. Clueless upstairs still. He does drop down and go in through this main entrance. The camera is there and gives the call, but he's going to get the shots onto Trippin, and Carnage is going to push it into overtime.
Ooh, that was quite a round. That was a very close round, too. And one thing that like Carnage and Chaos barely won that in the end from a clutch by Clueless, who has 12 kills as well, so he's definitely showing up for his team. But I'm still a little bit weary of the decision by Carnage and Chaos, where we had 3 people, I believe, inside of Workshop, and all 3 of them peaked and continued to peak. A Maestro who has an LMG, he doesn't need to reload. So he's just gonna hold left click and aim down that hallway, and you still have more people trying to peek him. That was a very questionable decision there, and it did not end up working out. But once again, we gotta give it to Clueless Marks for being a very good clutch player in that situation and getting both picks to secure the round for his team and bring it into overtime too. And if you're familiar with the way CCS has worked over the past, overtime used to be teams played 2 rounds on defense and then 2 rounds on offense, and they switched back and forth like that. But now it switches every other round because it's a bit more fair that way, where if there is a map that is completely, say, defensive sided, and you win both defensive rounds on the overtime, then you don't have to play an offense and you just win the overtime. So this time, since you have to win by 2, it gives teams a little bit better chance to win it off of something other than whichever team gets the defense.
Yeah, with how this map has been going so far, with the rounds kind of going back and forth between Disrupt, the trades going back and forth, both teams showing up fairly well on this map. You know, Oregon was a completely different story, but I think Carnage and Chaos is in the right mindset for this map. They're here and they're ready to play, and they're kind of showing Disrupt, hey, we're coming for your spot. And I could see this turning into an endurance battle, as much as I hate to say that because it means that this overtime could last a while. I think there's a chance that this is going to come down to, you know, which team is able to maintain a solid level of play for longer, whether by choice or just by pure skill. Sweater getting an early pick on a Carnage there is a huge pick for Disrupt because that's the Zofia off the board, so now they have to use that Ash from down below if they want to get rid of the bandit batteries that are inevitably going to be on the armory wall.
The face on that dog skin is so derpy. I can't get over it. Just look at it on the top left. It's not okay. Dotash is going to get another kill onto Clueless Marks. And one thing I did want to mention was Disrupt are bringing a 3 ACOG defense. So they have both of the GIGN with ACOGs, and they also have the Maestro, who I can only assume also has an ACOG. So they're definitely playing this sort of long-range battle where they get these long sightlines and get picks off the very start of the round, and they managed to get 2 of them so far, and they're just spamming suppressing fire through all sorts of windows in every part of the map. So at this point, Carnage and Chaos are feeling very pressured. Oh, but Hopes manages to find one. That's going to be the Maestro off the board, as he is just staying near the window a little bit too long and trying to keep getting those outside picks.
Yeah, I mean, he was hunkering, he was like hunched over by that doorway in break room. It was kind of confusing. I'm not sure what he was doing. Sweater does find Hopes now, though. Chef's still out on that AC balcony with that Blackbeard, a very common place for us to see the Blackbeard, and his first shield is gone, and now he is going to fall as well as Dot Dash goes for the peak there. Carnage and Chaos up at a 4-1 right now on this first round of overtime. A minute 15 left on the clock, and Art has to make his way in through the metal stairwell, but he's going to get spotted out by Trippin, who goes to the right place at the right time. Gets some damage onto Art. His phone is going off, and he's going to get downed and then meleeed to finish it off. It's a 3v1 now, but Bolo is going to be the shutdown Art from the bottom of metal stairs.
And Disrupt showing that they can be perfectly offensive on defense too. Perfectly aggressive on defense too. Sort of their namesake for their team is this heavy aggressive style that definitely caught Carnage and Chaos off guard there. And that is the one offense that Carnage and Chaos has. And I think Carnage and Chaos once again did better on their offense than they did their defense. So at this point, they need to hope that they can sort of predict what Disrupt's going to do. But we have potentially a Blitzfinka Montaigne.
Oh dear God!
No, this is one of these is so the strange thing is only one of these can be 6 picked off of. That's the strangest thing to think about, and it seems like
they're not even. I don't think
know
they're
who
even
they're
going
gonna
6 pick off of it.
they
So
have
we've
to
got
6 pick someone.
yeah.
Right?
So Bolo is going to go
They
for a
6
6 pick from Zofia to
They 6
Thatcher.
pick the
They don't even
Zofia.
have a hard breacher. But they're bringing the Thatcher.
Zofia instead of any of their shield operators, or like Finka sort of makes sense, especially when you have all of these shield operators. You just give them. This is the weirdest sentence to say, but lower slow resistance, or they get more slow resistance from barbed wire. They basically run faster through barbed wire than they would if they hadn't been Finka buffed, is what that means. So that helps out a little bit. So I can understand the Finka when you're playing this sort of lineup, but still going with potentially 3 shield operators. I think Dot Dash might also have a shield, which would be insane at this point. If we're looking for a game where Disrupt try to catch their enemy off guard, this is definitely that game.
That's a shield. This is dangerous. We saw what, who was it? It was EXO on the Fuse shield. That incredible shot that he got across CCTV. And I mean, 3 shield operators. You got them in the hands of Dot Dash, EXO, and Sweater. 3 of the strongest players that we've seen tonight from Disrupt. It puts them in a huge position. Probably going to go for some incredibly aggressive plays. And it's going to be terrifying for Carnage and Chaos to go against because they have to try to shut down an aggressive team that is going to be pushing forward with shields.
Are they doing the ranked archives push?
Yeah.
This isn't the right bomb site, but it's still they're still getting control of Armory through archives. This is strange.
Yeah, this is immediate control of the top floor. I mean, Carnage and Chaos isn't even really trying to fight it at this point. They're just kind of accepting it. And I heard a pistol going off somewhere. Clueless does find the first kill on the trip, and that's the thing off the board as Dot Dash gets a Fuse kill onto Hopes. The smoke is going to be off the board from that Fuse puck that went into sight and took him down. EXO being brought low on health as he walks into a crossfire. Art is going to shut him down. It's a 3 versus 4 right now as Finka and Blitz have fallen. And whoa, Art pops up from that window inside of there. He's going to get the kill on a Dot Dash, but Sweater is going to get the melee kill onto Art. He goes for the shots. He gets the headshot onto Chef, and Bolo finds Clueless. It's a 2v1 right now as Carnage makes his way over and gets the shots off onto Bolo, but he's up against Sweater. He's going to get the headshot, and Carnage is going to stay alive a little bit longer.
Well, that was quite a round. All right, so we saw 2 picks by Sweater with Montaigne, which is something that you don't really see very often, and he was left in a 1v1, which is tough when you're looking down a long hallway and you haven't planted the diffuser yet. 1v1s against Montaigne when you have planted the diffuser is a different story. That can be very Montaigne favored, but in this case, their strategy didn't quite work, and it's sort of strange because Disrupt, that was their ace in the hole, I think. That was the sort of, they're never going to be expecting this play. And I think it was pretty close to working too. Disrupt just got a little bit over aggressive in a couple of situations. Like I think Bolo, or was it EXO? I think it was EXO playing the Blitz, got a little bit overzealous, and like you said, attacked into a crossfire. So, I mean, it could have been better, but it also could have been worse. Like that was close to working against Carnage and Chaos, but Carnage and Chaos are going to be happy with getting that win.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many.
Yeah, I mean, that was a wild play from Disrupt. Everything started happening very quickly, but they left themselves open to some very obvious angles, like the player that was sitting inside of Supply just popped up and took out Fuse from the side. He was, Sweater got kind of lucky that he was able to react to it quick enough. But I think Sweater was looking straight towards the main door as well at that time. So there's potential that he could have got taken out at that exact same moment, but he just jumped into the window and smacked him right in the face. But I think the biggest mistake was in a 1v2, losing the fight to that Capcan. They had one operator that was still standing. It was Thatcher that was still standing, that had a rifle that he could go for a fight with. And he just was not looking where the Capcan was. But I think they just didn't know where Capcan was. So, I mean, very well played from Carnage and Chaos, making sure that they stay alive. After the first 2 rounds of overtime have gone by, you see it's a 6-6 now. So both teams have to go and try to win 2 rounds in a row at this point. Looks like Carnage and Chaos is slowing down a little bit. They know where they have to attack, so they're going to kind of drone it out, get themselves in a position, and go for a much better attack than what we saw when they were playing on Oregon. But I mean, so far this entire map, I should stop bringing up Oregon because they've been playing beautifully on this map. They know exactly how to push, when to push, and it's been working fantastically for them. That's why we're in overtime at 6-6 right now.
And a 6-6 overtime is a pretty interesting position because it just means these teams have been evenly matched on this map for a very long time. And the rounds that we saw, there were very few decisive rounds. I think there were only 1 or 2 that were won with more than 3 people standing. The Dot Dash is going to get the first pick. Another from T-Hunt. That's going to be EXO getting 2 more as he pushes in through Bathroom. Almost gets a third, but he gets taken out by Chef instead. Still, that leaves us with a 4v2. EE1D goes down, spotting a couple members of the team. Chef gets a headshot on an unsuspecting Dot Dash, who I think was trying to kill a drone. Now we have a 2v3 situation. However, Bolo is playing Vigil, and we know there's that K1A. He gets 1 pick already, and he's had the diffuser too, so he can just wait, but it doesn't matter, as Sweater picks off Chef as well. Another decisive victory for Disrupt on their overtime defense, and now Carnage and Chaos, it's their turn to see what Disrupt is going to try to do to them during this offense.
It's really strong plays coming out from both teams now. You can see, looking at the scoreboard, it's fairly even across on both teams. Of course, you've got 3 people in the double digits on the side of Disrupt, but that's obviously going to happen with a team like Disrupt, with the way that they play, where they play very aggressive. They get those entry fraggers in there, and the people who are playing their entry fraggers, or people who are playing their roamers, are typically going to find a lot more kills than the rest of their team. And it's not because the rest of the team isn't capable, it's because the roamers shut everyone else down immediately, or the entry fraggers just walk into sight and gun everyone else that's on there down. But yeah, Carnage and Chaos is holding their own right now. They're definitely in it to win it. They're trying their hardest to fight this back. If they get this overtime round, then we're going to keep going in overtime. And yeah, we're going to see which team at that point is just tires out a little bit sooner.
They have an IQ to counter some of the goo mines that Legion's going to be bringing out, and they swapped off of the Blitz, who Legion counters. So that's a pretty good switch overall. Disrupt going from a countered to a counter in Legion. So I like that play, and they also bring a buck because they know Carnage and Chaos just won their defense on Ventilation Workshop, so they have to be going to Armory or Bathroom Tellers. But honestly, even when you're going to Bathroom Tellers, a buck would still be useful to break open all of those floors. And so I think that was just a good pick, knowing that Carnage and Chaos can't go to Armory as a defense.
5 seconds left.
Definitely a solid read from them, but I'm still just trying to figure out the reinforced walls here on security. I don't see that very often. I don't know if you've seen it very often. Maybe it's something that Carnage and Chaos just kind of has planned out. They're doing it for a very specific reason. Definitely they're trying to maintain control of security, and that gives them a little bit of a better chance, but you've still got the doorway and the window in there that puts you at a massive disadvantage once they get open. You see Trippin already at that window on security. So I'm not overly impressed by the reinforcements there, as I don't think they're really going to play too big into it.
It's possible. I don't know if this is the intention. Axel gets 1 pick onto Chef. That's Legion, actually, so he's not going to be able to produce more goo mines. Hopes gets a return onto Dot Dash, bringing us down to a 4v4, but 2 members of Disrupt have been taken really low. But reinforcing these makes Clueless a little bit safer when he's playing in here, but it also makes it so that if the offense plants for... down to a 3v3 as Bolo gets another pick, but if the offense plants for Armory, then they can't hold Armory, they can't hold the plant as strongly as they could otherwise. So it's possible that they're sort of thinking, if they do get the plant down, then we can retake a lot more easily than we would otherwise. But that's a really strange thing to bet. Like, you don't want to bet that your opponents are going to plant and then win after the plant. But we are down to a 3v1 as EXO picks off yet another player, and now we only have 1 left, and they know that he is in CCTV. He's going to peek around as Bolo tries to jump in. He's not going to be able to do it, however. There are 2 people watching the angle, and Sweater takes out Carnage B. That's going to be Disrupt winning the 2nd map and winning this entire series, bringing them, or keeping them, in 2nd place on our leaderboard and knocking Carnage Chaos down lower into 3rd place.
I mean, that was a big gamble that Carnage took at the end there. They focused a lot on security, and Disrupt was like, okay, well, we'll just walk right into Archives then. And they did. They walked right into Archives. They just took complete control of Archives.